Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of DIY Startup, brought to you by E2E Society. Let me know if the video and audio is okay in the chat, please. If you're there, say hi, and I'll say hi back. It's a live chat. Usually, we get the most out of this thing if everybody participates in the chat. So today, we're going to be talking about business styling and branding, and everything having to do with that. We're going to look at a couple of examples on the web of branding and mood and colors and things like that. We're going to talk about how important it is and how it shapes how people see your company, because perfectly honestly, you only get one chance to make an impression. People see an advertisement or a website or see a Twitter post, and they get the feeling of mood or something about your company that makes them feel a certain way. And you can shape that. It's very important when you're first starting a company. You think about how you want the mood and how you want the public image to be. There's a couple of different ways that you could do that, and we'll talk about it. I have, like I said before, we'll look at some web examples, and I have a little slideshow that we can put together. Every time we do this live stream, I pick up some new tools. So today I have a new tool of a little presentation, so hope that goes okay. Let's see, how's the stream? We have one viewer. It's looking pretty good. So it says it might be a little choppy. It says YouTube's not receiving a video to maintain smooth streaming. I'll see what I could do about that. I made some changes in my network. I'm learning this stuff too, just like everyone else. Okay. Looks pretty good. Okay, so the purpose of this video, the purpose of the video series DIY Startup is to make you think about things or see things in a way that you really haven't seen before, because probably if you're watching this stream, you're like me, where you have a pretty good idea. Now all of a sudden you decide to try to start a business. How are we going to do that? There's a couple of things that you need to consider. So this series is really geared toward the person, like DIY type of person that's doing everything themselves. For some reason, small business owner, you have a great idea, now you want to start a business, so you have to come up with a name, you have to come up with all this other stuff, and to run any successful enterprise in 2020, you need to have a strong web presence, and that involves a web page, and involves social media these days like Twitter and Facebook, because like I said before, you could have the most wonderful product or service known to man, but if nobody knows about it, then nobody's going to use it or go to your website. And this series is about thinking of things that will help you organize your business into something that people will know about and people will use. E2E Society is based in Connecticut, in Fairfield County, Connecticut. So we're mostly going to show you some of the resources that are available in Southern Connecticut. But you could use any of the resources anywhere that you are in the world, basically. Every town and city in the world has resources devoted to small businesses. And some of them are pretty good. One of the most powerful things that you have as a small business owner and entrepreneur and head of a startup business is relationships with other businesses and other professionals. You talk to enough people, you make enough connections. It's not only about getting your name out there or getting the name of your company or your product or service out there, but it's more about learning from other people and making it easier for you to create and grow your own business. I'm pretty sure it won't be that hard for you to talk to people who have their own businesses, and they'll tell you all the stories about when times are good and when times are bad. And this video is exactly that, where we're going to talk about different aspects of starting up and growing a business, just to help you see things in a different type of a way. As consumers, we assume that products come from outer space. We go to Amazon and we see that things are available and they show up at your doorstep in 2 days. But where do they come from? Somebody has to sit down and think about how actually to make a product, or how actually to package it, or how to label it, and what it's supposed to be called, what the UI is. We use apps every single day on our phones, and there's a lot of thought that goes on behind that. There's a lot of thought that goes on behind what the user interface is going to look like, and how it's going to function, and what it's going to do, and how to prevent people from ripping you off and taking advantage of your app and breaking it. So we have to think about all of that stuff. This series is really geared toward the start of all of that process. The start of you have a good idea. Now all of a sudden you want to create something. And we can do that. I see the stream is a little laggy. Sorry about that. The video is a little laggy. Okay. Nobody's in the chat yet. That's all right. Okay, so first we're going to start with the name. So there's a couple of different ways. So you have a good idea for a product or a service. It could be a website. It could be an app. You have to think of a name for your company. What are you going to name the thing? You know, what do you want it to sound like? What do you want people to think of when they hear of the name of your company? There's a couple of different conventions to naming that I thought of. I put it together like a little tiny slideshow. Let's see if I could show you what I got here. Let me start from the beginning. Styling and branding. Let's see if I can present it to you. Okay, let's see. Styling and branding. That's pretty good. Let's think of business naming. Okay, so there's a couple of different things that you could do. So you can have a specific name for a business, and that's pretty powerful too. So a specific name would be something like I don't know, John's Baby Products, or John's Dairy, or Ash Dairy, or something like that, where people immediately understand by looking at the business name. They immediately understand what the business scope is and what the products are all about, and where the business priorities lie. What's another one? John's Telecom Company. I just use my own thing. You know, if you want to start that, or John Communications, or John Internet, or something like that. Or, you know, if you want to create a web app, or a mobile app or a website, you can like go directly for it. You can call it something directed at the industry that you're targeting. So there's certain pros and cons. There's good things and bad things to that, right? So some of the pros that I listed here. So the good thing about doing that, you have a very specific name, is the customer pretty much has a rough idea of what products and services are offered. If you have a baby product name for your company, basically the customer understands that the products and service or what's important to you and your company are basically geared around baby products, things like that. Other professional companies might seek out partnerships only because of your name. Let's say I have Ash Baby Products and Kevin has a Kevin's Baby Products. Kevin might actually see me as Ash Baby Products and want to create a partnership with me because he understands that we're both in the same industry. That's good. Like I said before, the resources around you are one of the most powerful tools that you have. Making connections, creating that kind of relationship with people who are in similar industries, or just simply creating relationships with people and organizations that can help you and give you kind of support. That's what you want, because it's very difficult to do it alone. You know, entrepreneurs are nothing. Is a tough business. You know, you have all of the risks, but you also get all of the rewards. You know. Okay, so some of the bad things about having a very business specific name for your company kind of limits the products and the direction that you're going to take. If you have a company called John's Baby Products and you decide to create an app that has to do with restaurants, finding a good restaurant, you might have to do something. You have to bifurcate that business somehow. You might have to like spread it into two things before you pivot. You can't have John's Baby Products app that helps you choose a restaurant in a certain city. You kind of can't do that. People aren't going to expect that. I mean, you can, maybe you can make something out of it. But having a very specific name limits those kind of products. And that kind of makes it tough to pivot your product line. You know, we have a product, if you have a specific name that's geared towards STEM things and educational products, and then you decide to do something with automotive, it's kind of difficult to transition a company that has a STEM related name to something that has to do with automotive. People are they're not really going to understand what products you have to offer, you know, with that. So business naming, there's another way that you could go about it where you could have like a completely undefined name. So you can have something that sounds completely undefined, like Ash Integrated Technologies. Nobody could possibly know what Ash Integrated Technologies possibly offer unless you do more research, or unless you have existing relationships. So there's good things and bad things about having some kind of universal undefined name, or you have initials like AEY or something that simply don't mean anything. Nobody's ever going to be able to figure out what that means. And that might be a good thing, or it might be a bad thing. The bad thing about it is that it's a vague business focus. Nobody can really figure out what you're trying to sell or offer. If you make a web app that has a very undefined name, nobody's going to be able to find it in the App Store. The App Store is literally flooded with apps. It's very difficult to find one unless you're actually searching for it. And if you have a very undefined name for your app or business or website, basically it renders you unfindable to most people. But the good things about it, and there's some good things about having a very vague universal business name, is that it could limit your business exposure if you want to. Let's say you have some exclusive contracts. Let's say you're in manufacturing and you're manufacturing something very exclusively for one company. You're making light bulbs that a very small limited contract, and you kind of want to reduce your business exposure a little bit. You could name it a very universal name, and nobody will be able to find you, basically. And that actually might be what you want to do. If you have a limited time partnership, a group of people that are only going to be making one product for a very short time, you don't want anything that's going to be carved in the sands of time, or engraved too deeply in the world of the internet. Then you can do that. Right down there on my slide, I have movie production companies as a good example. You have 2 or 3 investors getting together to create a movie. They have to create a production company, and they do that by making a very vague sounding name. Look around at some movies and you'll see what I mean. Most of them are initials, actually. And it's just investors getting together to create a very temporary type of a business. So that actually might be good for you if you want to. But I think that most people that are viewing this live stream are more in the product type business, where like we want to make a service or a product or a web app, a website or an app, and you need that to be definitely findable. You definitely need it to be findable. Let me turn on the game. You definitely need it to be findable somehow, and I think that you're going to tend to go more toward a definite name. I'm pretty sure everybody looking at this web it's pretty much going to go for that. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, let's look at that. Oh, I see Dan Durden in the chat. That's good. Should I base my company? Oh, he has a good one. Oh, that's a really good question. Should I base my company or product name on available domain names? Any successful enterprise in 2020 is going to need a strong web presence to be found. If your company is geared toward that thing. If you're manufacturing, you definitely want to be found. So I think that in 2020, I think a lot of business names start with searching for a domain name that's available. I know a lot of bands, the first thing that when 2 or 3 people get together, I know a lot of band names start by first Googling their band name to find out if it's taken by something else that you don't really actually want to represent your band. But company, definitely you want to try to find a domain that's pretty good. I think a lot of contracted companies that I've seen, they have huge domain names. It's like danandnicksplumbingcompany.com. That's good. That's good, I guess. That's a really good question, Dan. Thanks a lot. I think yes. As my personal opinion, yes, you should base your company, maybe not the product name, but the company definitely on available domain names. Thanks a lot for that, Dan. It's pretty good. Thank you. Very nice. Okay, now let's talk about mood. Let's talk about company mood. Okay, because that goes a long way, right? So you got the name of your company and you thought about that a little bit. Now more going into talking about styling and things like that, you have to establish the company mood. Well, chances are pretty good that you're busy making all your things. Chances are pretty good you had your head down trying to make an app, or you got your head down trying to write a website and pull all these services together, or you have your head down making schematics and trying to work out manufacturing and things like that. So who has time to think about moods? Well, you already did. You already kind of established it, you know. So the mood is created when 2 or 3 people get together. A working mood is how are you guys working? Let's say there's 2 people creating something. You have yourself and an engineer designing circuit boards. When you guys get together, what is the mood that you guys created right off the bat? What is the working relationship like in the past history of you? Is it like 2 buddies that got together, or are you 2 coworkers from a different business, or you came from someplace else, or you just simply met? Is it a professional relationship or a casual relationship? And that's going to go on. Actually, you start in the beginning defining the mood, because as soon as you hire a 3rd person in there that's not part of the original company, they're going to be looking for what's the mood of these guys, like how do they actually get on. So let's take a look at some examples of some mood things that we could see. So here's an example of from Launch Hartford. So Launch Hartford is a organization that tries to get startups and support businesses that's starting in Hartford, Connecticut. So let's look at some of the moods that these guys are presenting. Like I said, you only get 1 shot to make an impression on everybody. So let's take a look at these moods that people are presenting, right? So here you go. Here's a company, ceramic printing. Okay, so I assume it's 3D. Quambio. Kind of a strange, unique name. Probably has a meaning, but once you hear it, you can probably find it on the internet pretty quickly. In fact, this name, one of the first things you're going to want to do is pull up a web browser somehow and look it up if you're interested in doing ceramic printing and things like that. They're showing products here. It looks fairly serious. Okay, let's look at the next example. Next example, Luminant Analytics. Okay, they look like a professional relationship right there. Okay. Pretty good. It gives you a good mood. So you get an idea of the office that they have here. You get an idea that it's a big space. This actually looks like a typical like 90s startup space. If you look, there's like brick in the background. All of this, I don't know. Maybe that's not their office. I'm making an assumption on that. But you know, if you were going to work for Luminant Analytics, you would want to take a look at something like this. And the first thing that you would see was would be the environment that they're working in right there. I don't really see any desks, but it gives you an idea of the mood, right? Let's look at the next one. Oh, look at this. Okay, pineapple. This very, very relaxed atmosphere. Here you see there's like a collaborative work environment here with a board that everybody could share things on. One person's laying down and typing on a laptop and like so you don't see any desks. You don't see it too professional. And there's good things and bad things about that too. We're going to talk about that. This might actually be an environment that you would try to make happen for your company. Here we go. Combined ratio solutions. Okay, we're talking about business naming. Combined ratio solutions. Basically, you can if you didn't see anything else but the name of the company, you could kind of get a good direction into it. You can probably get a pretty good feel about what the direction is. You know, look at the image that they're portraying right here. They're 2 professionals. Obviously, they're in suits and jackets. They're in shirts and jackets. They look like they mean business. So if you went to go work, if you applied for a job at Combined Ratio Solutions, and you saw this, you would understand that you're getting involved in a professional work environment. That chances are pretty good you would be expected to wear a shirt and a suit jacket too. And that might be good and bad. We're going to talk about that. I actually have a couple of slides that I made to help demonstrate it. But right off the bat, you see this image right here, and it makes a very specific mood. And it's very different to this one that Pineapple has with their mood, where they're very relaxed. So that actually might be what you like. Depends on what you like. So what does this do? Let's see. Let me get back into the... Okay, so I have another slide to show. It's not. I put myself on the other side. Okay, creating mood through styling and name. Wow, okay, pretty good. So you convey the mood. Why would you want to set a certain mood of in a company, especially a small one? Well, you want to convey the mood to potential employees, right? You want to give them an idea of what they're getting involved in when they apply for a job at Ash Integrated Technologies or something like that. You show them that, the first thing that they do, first thing that anybody's going to do is pull up a web browser and take a look, do a little research to the company. And if they see a picture like the last one that's very relaxed, they're gonna know what, or very professional, people know exactly what they're getting involved in. Okay, potential customers, mood through styling resonates very, very largely with customers. So depending on what industry you're in or what service that you're making, you might want to portray a certain mood of fun. In fact, I noticed that a lot of these insurance companies try to, with their commercials, they try to and put a little humor into shopping for insurance, because that's not very much fun. So they try to like put a little bit of humor in their commercials or have like some kind of catchy thing so that you remember them. So the mood goes, you're trying to convey the mood directly to customers. Okay, potential partners. So if somebody wants to set up a relationship with you, with your company, to work with you, set up a contract if they want to buy services for you or something like that. First thing that they're going to do is they're going to recognize the mood that you're trying to set up. Is it a professional mood or a relaxed mood? Does it match their mood? It might not. Okay. Yeah, does it match their mood? Are you guys going to be able to work together? If you have a very casual mood and you decide to try to partner with somebody who's very professional, who wears shirt and jacket all the time, might cause some potential problems with you guys as management wise. And potential investors. So if you have some investors that are looking to invest in your company and they want to get a professional style, basically, so you convey your mood to investors if you want to. All right, why would you want to make mood? Okay, so you create mood through styling in the name, right? So you want to try to figure out whether your service or company is going to get the most productivity out of it through environment tone. Okay, how do we squeeze as much work as we can from the workers without them fooling around? Even if it's just you and a partner, you want to try to figure out how you're going to do that. Some people respond better to different kinds of moods. Okay, so if you got a relaxed tone, all right, let's go through the chart there. I just put this together quick. Relaxed tone, you have greater employee satisfaction. I don't know. Maybe people will feel that if it's more relaxed, you have more freedom. The management style is more relaxed. People will be happier to come there on a Monday morning than they would be if you have to wear a suit, a shirt and jacket. Okay. Okay. Best talent might be attracted to the relaxed environment. I don't know if that's true or not. It might be. So if you're trying to create somebody that, if you're trying to attract somebody who's very talented, web programmer or IoT, and some people who sit and stare at screens for a long time, it's no secret. I'm just saying what everybody's thinking. Most people who sit and stare at screens don't prefer to be socially interactive with people. They don't prefer to drive into the office. Okay. Sometimes the perks spur innovation. What do I mean by that? So there's a startup, a very common thing to have in startups, or if you have an older company that wants to create the idea of a startup, is a ping pong table, ping pong tournaments, shared dining. Normally I've seen at startups that I've worked in as a consultant, I've seen refrigerators filled with energy drinks or refrigerators filled with microwavable food and 3 or 4 microwaves. So there's an idea that everybody in the company is going to come together to eat at the same time, or try to attract that all together. I've seen at startups conference tables scattered around, 4 and 6 person conference tables, maybe not in present time, scattered around. And what that promotes the idea that people are going to collaborate together. And it's very relaxed. Instead of putting everybody in a cubicle or in their own office with their desk very segregated, you try to bring everybody together and hope that spurs innovation. Most times it does, depending on the industry that you're in. If you're in manufacturing, obviously you want people with their heads down at the oscilloscope, instead of eating ramen. Okay, if you set a very professional tone in your office, you might get more productivity. You get a different kind of employee satisfaction, I think. You might be With a professional environment, you might create a different kind of employee satisfaction. One where employees, they know that they're working for a very serious firm. They're not fooling around. Sometimes those loose companies, the employees kind of are thinking that management is because the grip on the employees is very lax, or because the dress styling is very relaxed. They might think that the ethos behind discipline is very relaxed too. So if you have started a very professional tone in the office with jackets and shirts, chances are pretty good employees will be satisfied for a different kind of a reason. They'll actually take pride in working for a firm that's very serious. Also, if you have a professional term, you might get tighter standards and practices. And what I mean by that was you might get more consistent work because people are taking it more seriously. If you're working in something that deals with the law, or if you're working with somebody that deals with trade, or any kind of like standards, compliance type of a situation, you might get a tighter standards following if people come in more formal dress. This can be discussed. I don't know if you have any comments. Comment in the chat. That's why we're here. Let's see what the next slide is. Slide 6. That's branding. That's the next one. Let's go back to that in a few minutes. Let's see. Okay. That's pretty good. So what are we going to talk about? We're talking about styling and branding. I was going to talk a little bit about business cards, but I think that in 2020, somebody mentioned to me recently at one of our E2E society calls that maybe business cards aren't actually so important in 2020. However, in the past, I've used business cards pretty extensively. I kind of have a hard time remembering people, so I tend to, as soon as they give me that business card, I tend to start writing notes on the back. I flip it over and take my pen and I start writing notes. Even if it's just what the person looks like and what their name is that I'm talking to. Glasses, mustache, professional, things like that. Just so I can remember what they're, once I step away from the meeting or step away from the lunch or whatever, or the conference, whatever it is, I'd actually remember in a couple of days. Because in the old days, I don't know, well, pre this new way, business cards were how you remember people because that's all you had once you step away. You go to a conference, I used to get stacks and stacks of business cards, and I flip through them. It's all different. And that's another thing that ties in with the mood and the styling and the branding, what your business card is. I remember a couple of years ago, the trend for business cards was like a portrait instead of landscape. Business cards traditionally are like landscape. Do I have any business cards? No, I'm not prepared. You caught me and I'm unprepared. But I remember a few years ago, I started seeing business cards in the portrait way, where they were printed like to hold them up tall instead of long. And then I remember, I don't know, a few years ago, seeing cards with rounded edges, or even asymmetric shapes, ovals, and truncated ovals, and things like that, like where the top is curved and the bottom's not. I don't know. Weird brands and things like that. Again, that goes along with mood and styling. Business cards, you take a look at it, bang, you get an instant idea of the mood and the style that that particular company is going for better or for worse. That kind of drives, trying to drive your style and mood. All right, let's, how many viewers do I have? I have 3 viewers. That's very nice. Stream health is healthy. It's good. YouTube's not really. I'm going to try to make some network changes next week. Try to affect the video so it's not so choppy. I'm sorry about the laggy video. I'm learning this. I'm learning this stuff too, just like everybody else. All right. 8:30. It's pretty good. Let's talk about branding a little bit. I have a couple of things to say about branding. If you want to talk about branding, we can actually look at some websites. I have a couple of websites we could look at if you want to look at branding. Let's see. Let's take a look at branding. Okay, so I have a little slide on branding. So branding slide. Okay. Branding. The number one thing in branding in 2020 is all of your presence must have continuity. You gotta have the same colors. You gotta have the same thing. You have to think about that when you're designing all this. The website has to tie in with the YouTube channel, has to tie in with the Twitter feed, has to tie in with your business card, has to tie in with your all of the things that have to do with branding. This is mostly my opinion, and I think it's actually good practice. The online presence and all of your presence, even your letterhead, if you're going to send out letterhead with a logo on the top, it has to jibe with all of the other stuff. The color, the mood, the pictures and the graphics, all of the stuff that you're trying to portray has to have one feeling, I think. Got to keep that in mind. So when you first create your brand, keep in mind that it has to translate to web. It has to translate to YouTube. It has to translate to a business card. It's got to translate to all these things. It's got to be kind of definite because you want to try to create that recognition right off the bat. That's what I think. So color has a lot to do with creating the mood and the styling. All of your pictures and graphics and things like that. Just have to have. I recommend that you start thinking from the very beginning that everything that you produce has to have a certain continuity, down to even packaging, which we're going to talk about in future episodes of DIY Startup. Even your packaging, all of that stuff has to like be together because people really want to recognize it. You went to a website, if you're creating an app, a small business creating an app, and you went to a website all of a sudden and it kind of didn't look the same, you'd be like, wait, is this the same company? What's happening with this stuff? So it all has to have continuity. All right. Website, I think, is one of the most important things for a business, as far as I'm concerned. Ties in with Dan's question about whether or not you should try to like name your company based on an available domain. Website is where I definitely recommend spending bucks. There's only two places that I recommend spending money for a startup type of person. Other than that, I think you can do most things by yourself or for cheap. A website happens to be one of them. The other one happens to be lawyers. Get a good friend that's a lawyer. But a website, I think if you're not a proficient website designer, I think that it pays to get a professional person to do it. For a couple of different reasons. You get a professional layout, your styling is tied in, and then the operation of the website has to be 100%. People just want it to work. If you put a website with your company on it, and it doesn't work or has empty pages or something's not right or it looks kind of weird, people really, really notice that. I think a lot of customers and partners and investors and what else we talk about, and future employees, they don't have a lot of patience for apps or websites that simply don't do what they're supposed to do. So if you get a professional web designer in the very beginning, I think that the money was well spent as far as that goes. Unless you're proficient doing it yourself and you're willing to do it, because it's a thousand decisions on every web page that have to be made. Most importantly is it has to function properly. You click a button, it's got to go to the link. You have to spell check it to make sure that we're going to talk a little bit about website too in future episodes of DIY Startup. But you really have to look critically when you're creating your website, even if it's just some kind of WordPress website. You're just banging it together. You're just dropping up a text box, boom, put a thing, and then publish. You got to look at all of the text. You got to look at all of the spell check. Imagine if you went to a website and you found spelling errors. People are very critical of that type of thing. Like I said, there's no patience. People don't have any kind of patience for that type of thing. It leads us into the next thing, social media. If you want a successful enterprise in 2020, you gotta be connected to social media. I'm sorry. I even tried to resist it myself. Look, now we have a YouTube, E2E Society. We started with a web page. We developed that. And then we went to a Twitter. We started a Twitter feed so that people could know what we're up to in the future. Started posting some things every week. And then, we started with this YouTube channel. So now we have a YouTube channel. There's going to be more shows and more things coming up that we're going to develop. But if you want to be a DIY startup type of guy and be your own business person, you have to sort of learn how to embrace this social media aspect of it. Like I said before, you could be selling a piece of fried gold. But if nobody knows about it, you're not going to get any customers. Sorry about that. So the Twitter feeds. Your Twitter feeds, we talk about mood and styling and branding. Your Twitter feeds have to be consistent with your mood and styling and branding. If you have a very loose business mood, then your Twitter feed can be very loose and casual and jokey if you want to, like kind of chummy. That will work out for you. That might actually attract some people to your Twitter. But the posts have to be consistent. They got to be active. People have to see that. It becomes a whole job on itself, believe me. Facebook, businesses, I don't understand personally why a business would want to go on Facebook. I don't understand why Coca-Cola is on Facebook, but that's just me. I think Facebook is for people to make connections with each other. But if you feel that your brand or your business would benefit from that, by all means, now you have to embrace Facebook and you have to create activities and connections and relationships and likes. And you have to watch everything very carefully because your people will be able to see your likes. If you like the wrong thing, it could spell disaster for you. It's very tricky. The web is actually it's necessary, but it's actually a very tricky environment to navigate. And like I said, it's got to be consistent with your branding. That's it from the presentation. It's pretty good. Let's go back. Let's see. Let's check the chat. And okay. Hi, Janine. How you doing? Sound connection is good. Thank you very much for us mentioning that. Okay, Andrew Durden, great. I think business cards are essential. If you don't have one and somebody asks, what would you say to them? Good one. Depends if you have a strong website. I don't know. Business cards are essential. I suppose. I don't think I remember seeing that they weren't, although I think they were becoming a little bit outdated. But I think that now word of mouth through I don't know, web pages, domain, you could give them your domain. I don't know. It's a good one. Trying to stump me on that one. It's pretty good. So thanks for being in the chat. Thanks a lot for telling me that sound and connection are good. It's pretty good. Business cards? Yeah, sure. Great, a business card. They're easy to get. They're really, really easy. You could go to Staples and you could get you get 50 business cards for like $20 or something. You could design them pretty easily. You know, and when you're just starting out, like DIY startup, when you're just starting out, there's a few things that you can get, I feel, that make you feel like you got a business. One of them is a business card. So you go to Staples and you produce a business card cheap just to get you going until you get some cash to get nice business cards. As soon as you get that business card, you take a look at it and it's got your name and the company on it, and you instantly feel like you just got a business. You know, it's pretty magic. I think that a website is the same thing. I think when you get a web presence, you instantly like feel like you have a business. You feel like things are coming together, and you're like, oh, this is pretty good. You know, so business card, sure, very powerful. Website, yeah, sure, extraordinarily powerful. Get all those things together, and you'll start really feeling like you're moving along. And then all you have to do is produce whatever you're doing, whether it's a service or a app or a website with services. All that stuff is very important. It's pretty good. Okay, I think I'm going to knock it on the head. I was going to talk for 40 minutes today. So that's pretty good. What do we talk about? We talk about business, styling, and branding. Talk about mood. I don't have any other notes around. I write notes to myself. I think that's pretty it. Pretty much it. It's pretty good. 4 concurrent viewers. Average watch time is 20 minutes. That's pretty nice. Okay, so like I said before, I'm just going to reiterate on the wrap-up. E2E Check that out. E2E Society is an organization that's trying to pull in resources. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a community of resources that entrepreneurs can use. It just so happens that E2E Society is based in Southern Connecticut, but anywhere you go, any kind of city, municipality, even if it's just the state offices or the county offices, they will most definitely have somebody that's there to help small businesses start. You know, what they want to try to do, what politicians would love to try to do is they would love you to establish your business locally and source your employees locally and source your materials locally and distribute your products locally. They would love to do that. There's a lot of things that you could look at. We talked about it on the last episode, like incubators. You could look at some incubators, business incubators, and things like professional incubators. What cities are trying to do is trying to attract business. And if they can't attract it, they got to create it from scratch, which they could do. And that's why you're here, because you're trying to create a business from scratch. That's great. I'm very interested in that too. So E2E is trying to pool together resources, and that's one of the most valuable things that you have is your connections and your relationships and your resources, especially things that are around you. Nothing beats a conversation. Pick up the phone with a conversation or go to somebody's office and have a conversation if you can, whatever things are looking like. Very important and valuable, especially when you're trying to get your business up off the ground. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up if that's okay. Thank you everybody for attending my live stream. It's been a lot of fun. Some people. This is 4 stream. I got a lot of stream settings. If anybody's ever done a YouTube live stream, there's a lot that kind of has to come together in order to make it work. But we got it now. So, okay, everybody. Well, thank you for attending, and thanks for being in the chat. Dan, Janine, Andrew, thanks a lot as always. Okay, guys, we're going to have another one on next Friday at 8 o'clock. We're going to do this every Friday at 8 o'clock. And if I'm here talking by myself, I'm perfectly happy with that anyway. I haven't decided on the topic. I got a list of them that we could talk about. Let's see. Manufacturing funding. Maybe next one we'll talk about funding. We'll talk about money. I mean money, I'm talking about the DIY startup type of money. I'm talking about sub 100,000K, where you need under $100,000 to get your business going. It's got a couple of options with that. You got a Kickstarter options. You got investors that can invest. You go out asking for money. That's actually one of the true definitions of a startup is if you're just operating off of just investor money with no revenue coming in, you're officially a startup. Once you get revenue coming in, you're a small business. So that's actually what we're talking about right now. So venture capital and investors, boy, I've seen a lot of that happen. And no kidding, there's ups and downs to that one. There's crowdsourcing, all kinds of crowdsourcing. Man, it's a fantastic time to start a small business. Indiegogo, Kickstarter, all of these other things. There's a lot of resources for you as an entrepreneur. You could get money to do things that you could get cash to do bigger things pretty easily if you know where to go. So we could talk about all that stuff. We could talk about crowdsourcing versus investor capital. Like I said before, this is like under $100,000. Let's say you need to make your first product or something like that. That's the kind of realm that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything big. Thank you. Thumbs up. I got thumbs up in the chat. That's very nice. So we'll talk about funding next time. That's pretty good. I have a guest lined up, I think, for not this week, but the following week. First, I have to fix my network connection because it seems like it's a little laggy. So once I fix the network connection and fix the audio and iron out all those bugs, I'm going to pull in a guest. I have 3 people lined up that I'm going to interview. And that will probably be a little bit longer of a show. Subscribe to this channel and you'll get notifications. It's so trite, right? Everybody says that. I can't believe I just said that, but it's true. If you subscribe to our E2E Society channel, then you get notifications that a live stream is going to happen. But like I said, it's going to happen every Friday, 8 o'clock. And I have a couple of really good. The first guest I have is a really, really good entrepreneur to interview. There's a lot to it. So live questions in the chat. I'll respond to that and introduce them into the interview too. So if you have any live questions in the chat, you can put them up there, and then I'll ask who we're interviewing, and so you can participate in this too. I think that's pretty good. So that's going to be, I think, 3 weeks. Like I said, I got to get my network straightened out first. This thing's kind of tricky. Okay, thanks everybody. This is fun. I don't know about you guys. I'm having a blast. Every Friday, at 8 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time, I guess we're going to do this. So thanks a lot. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.